We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race, and the human race is filled with passion. Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for.
Thank you, Professor Keating, for giving me the intro of this video. In a moment, I will explain you why I chose this part of the movie Dead Poets Society. Ciao a tutti and welcome back into my channel. I'm AndrewC and this is Vape in Italy. Today I'm going to talk to you about an atomizer that can be considered a sort of spin-off of another one. This atomizer has been presented right before the last Vape Italy, held in May this year. For this event, a limited edition of 300 parts, results of the collaboration between the modder and an Italian flavor producer, has been sold in a special packaging containing the atomizer and 4 organic tobacco flavors that give their best in it. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the Vampire Epos by Oxygène Mods. We already saw the brand Oxygène Mods and the Vampire V2 in my previous video. This new atomizer was a sleeping project of the modder. He was thinking to create a bottom feeder version of the Vampire, but the idea of denaturalizing the concept of the atomizer was blocking him. As the modder told during a live on Facebook, finally he got the inspiration and he created this new atomizer. As he told, I was feeling the symphony in my head. The born of this atomizer was like a poem, a poetry. And here is where the name of the atomizer comes from. Epos in Latin means poetry. Vampire Epos has been presented during Vape Italy 2019 and, as I said before, it has been developed in collaboration with an Italian organic flavor producer, Blendfeel. Blendfeel is for sure one of the top brands in Italian flavor market. They are specialized in organic tobacco flavors and their flavor portfolio is really wide. They specifically developed 4 new flavors that performs the best in this brand new atomizer. But let's go down to the table now for a deep view of the Vampire Epos and later we will see the flavors. The packaging is in matte black with both logo engraved, Oxygène Mods and Blendfeel. Inside the box there's a brochure with an introduction to the content of the box, the history of both brands and some words about their collaboration. 4 different organic tobacco flavors, spare parts tube with 2 Pyrex tank, 4 ropes, O-rings and screws, and, of course, the Vampire Epos. Vampire Epos is a BF RDTA. The body of the atomizer is in titanium as the Vampire V2, as well as the other material used. The tank is in Pyrex, pins are in brass, ropes are in stainless steel, insulator are in PEEK and Teflon. Comparing the two Vampire, the V2 and the Epos, it appears immediately that the concept of the atomizer is exactly the same, but there are some geometrical differences. Vampire Epos has the same diameter of its brother V2, 22 mm, but it is about 15 mm shorter, reaching an overall height of 52 mm. Starting from the bottom of the tank, we can see the 5-tank connection with the BF pin, the Oxygène Mods logo, the atomizer name, and the serial number. Bottom of the tank is countersunk and combined with the Pyrex glass offers a capacity of 2 ml. Being a bottom feeder atomizer, the real capacity is given by the tank under the deck and the squonk bottle. Probably it is even wrong to call it as a tank, because it's more like a siphon that holds part of the liquid during squonk phase and allows a more constant and stable juice feeding to the cotton. Central sleeve, shorter compared to the Vampire V2, has now an additional function. Besides holding together tank and deck section through the upper thread, central sleeve allows tank or siphon refilling during squonk phase through two small holes drilled in a specific groove. Deck section remain unchanged from the Vampire V2. Distance between pins, air nozzle, rope holes have been kept identical to its older brother. Juice feeding is the same of the Vampire V2. E-liquid is supplied to the deck section through the rope exploiting the capillarity, then is absorbed by the cotton that brings it to the coil. Airflow regulation is the same too. There are 7 holes that vary from 0.8 to 2 mm, with 0.2 mm increment step by step. As for the Vampire V2, these holes are restriction in ingress to a 2 mm air channel that cross the deck and ends in a 2 mm nozzle underneath the coil. This airflow regulation allows using the Vampire Epos as its bigger brother, from pure MTL to restricted flavor vaping. Upper bell of the Vampire Epos is shorter than the same of the V2, and there is no longer the possibility of varying the height of the top cap. The modder decided to sacrifice the possibility of having a variable vaporizing chamber for the benefit of a shorter overall height of the atomizer. Okay, no worries. This sacrifice is sweeter than it looks. The bells of the Vampire V2 and the Vampire Epos are interchangeable, so it is possible to create an hybrid version between the two atomizers, taking the advantage of the bottom feeder given by the Vampire Epos and mixing it with the possibility of having a variable vaporizing chamber over the deck given by the Vampire V2. Epos drip tip is in Ultem with 510 connection and it follows the upper shape of the bell. Last but not least, the Vampire Epos can be used also as a standard RDTA without BF. Included in the spare parts there are 2 O-rings that are thicker than the others. Fitting one of these thicker O-ring on a central sleeve groove, the 2 filling holes are plugged, and the tank refill can be done from the hole on the deck as the Vampire V2. This is the Vampire Epos. As usual, we have a last closer look of it and then we switch the camera for some final consideration. We had a deep look to the Vampire Epos and we made a quick comparison with its bigger brother, the Vampire V2. As you saw, the concept of the atomizer is the same between the two. The miniaturization of the atomizer offers some pros and some cons. The difference in height of the Vampire Epos gives to it a plus compared to the Vampire V2. Being shorter, the juice feeding performance provided by the ropes become more stable and constant, even when the liquid level in the siphon or in the tank is low, as the distance that the liquid has to cover along the ropes is shorter. As a cons, the fixed top cap cancels the possibility of having a variable chamber over the deck, cancelling the possibility of varying a bit the perception of the taste. As I said during the video, the top cap of the Vampire Epos is interchangeable with the top cap of the Vampire V2, so the variable chamber is available by mixing the two atomizers. Airflow and aromatic yield are absolutely comparable with the Vampire V2, so in my opinion the Vampire Epos is another best-in-class atomizer. The Vape Italy special edition of the Vampire Epos were including 4 organic tobacco flavors. These flavors are Pais, Black Cavendish Metz de Calvados, an apple brandy from Normandy in France. Morning Glory, early morning tobacco mixture composed by Black Cavendish, Bright Virginia and Cyprus Latakia. Black Cavendish, Virginia leaves fermented with rum. Habanos Grand Reserve. It's an extract of the highest leaves of the Habanos tree, the ones most exposed to the sun, used in some special cigars. These flavors are already great by themselves, but in the Vampire Epos they return in a way unique. Vampire Epos Special Edition is gone completely sold out during the Vape Italy, but the atomizer and the flavors can be available separately. A new batch of the Vampire Epos is now available, so if you are interested, take a look on the web. This video ends here, I hope you enjoyed it. As usual, I will add some useful link in description, as well as my Instagram and Facebook pages. Subscribe, click on the bell, comment this video and let me know what do you think about it. See you next time. Ciao.